Okay, so now we need to use what we've just created, our methods in the authentication provider. So let's continue. Here we will check database if the current user exists. So for that, let's await auth provider. We are calling it as auth. Let's change this. Let's call it as a auth provider. Let's copy this, then paste it here. Then let's call it as auth provider. We need to add a wait keyword here. So let's say auth provider dot check user exist. So let's assign it to a boolean. Let's say bool user exists, like that. So now here, after we check, we're going to say if user exists, we'll continue with this. So let's cut all this, paste them inside here. In the else statement, that's where we are going to navigate to our user information screen. So let's cut here and paste it here. So we are getting this same error again. So let's just cut this and then say navigate to user info screen. Like that, and then let's click over here and create this method, then paste that code here. So if user doesn't exist, that's when we are going to navigate to our user info screen. Now let's continue here. Here we are saying get user data from database. So again, we will await auth provider dot get user data from Firestore, our method that we just created. So after we get the user data, what we are saying here is save user data to shared preferences. So let's await again auth repo dot save user data to shared pref. So after this has happened, now let's save this user as signed in. So again, let's await auth repo dot save. Let's say, did we create this method? Set signed in. Set signed in. I don't think we did. So let's create our method. So let's go to authentication provider. Maybe down here, let's create our set signed in method. So let's say future set signed in, like that. Let's make this method asynchronous, and then here we need our shared preferences. So let's just copy this and then paste it here, and then down here let's say shared preferences dot let's say set bool, and then our boolean will be we'll create our constant. Let's come back here, let's copy, let's call this as is signed in. We copy here, paste it here, can close that. Then here let's say constants dot is signed in, and then for the value let's say true. So here we are setting as is signed in as true, but let's also create our boolean on top here. So let's copy this and then paste it here. Here let's say is signed in. We initialize it to false. Then let's also copy a getter, this one. We'll say is signed in, which will return is signed in. Okay, so let's come down here. So where we are setting is signed in here, we're going to set our is signed in to true. Then let also notify the changes. So here we are setting the signed in method, but let's also create another method for checking this. Let's copy, then paste it here. Here let's say check signed in, I think like that. Then we also need this, and then here we'll say get boo, and then we'll get the same one, and then we can remove this. And if it returns nothing, we'll say false. Then here this one, let's assign it to our is signed in, like that. And then let's remove this. We need to return something because we are checking here. So for that, let's return a boo. And then here, let's return is signed in. Okay, so here we are setting a signed in, and then here later on we are going to check inside the shared preferences the value which is there. So let's go back to our OTP screen. So now, as you can see here, again we are checking if is signed in. I mean, we're not checking here, we are setting that this user is signed in. So after we have checked that, only here that now we are navigating to our home screen. So here we are going to say navigator dot push replacement named, and then here we're going to say for time saving, let's just come back here and copy this. We come back to our OTP screen and then paste it here. So now we are going to navigate to home because we are already signed in. We don't need to come to, we already have data. We don't need to come to user information screen. So as here you can see that even here we have an error. So we can do the same like what you did here, but now we have to do this again. So to make this as one method, we can just say navigate, and then let's give it a boolean like true, like that, because here we know that he's signed in. So let's take this as required. So let's say is signed in, and then we give it true. Let's create this method, and then down here we're going to check if he's signed in. We are going to navigate to here. Let's cut this. If it is signed in, we are going to go to home. Else, we are going to navigate to this. And then we can delete this. And then here, instead of calling this, let's copy the navigation here. Let's paste it here. So here we are going to say force. So here, if the user is signed in, we are going to do this, to get the user, save the user, set that this user is signed in, and then navigate to home. Here we are going, if he's not signed in, we are going to navigate to user information screen, just like that. So we can just restart our application, run it again. This is just part of it. We are still adding some more code in our authentication. So next thing to do is, before we test this, let's just continue. We are going to test it later, or let's test it before we go further. Let's log in. So in the authentication screen, if the user exists, as we know, going to our database, we know that this user exists. It should check here, get the data and save the data and set the signed in, and it should take us to our home screen just after here. Now we are entering our SMS code. So just after here, it should take us to the home screen if everything works fine. Okay, that's great. So our code is working here. Let's end this video right now. In the next video, we are coming to our user information screen and also work on here. After this user creates an account, we need to do some extra functions here.